All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back for another episode of the Fancast Live podcast. As you guys can see, my boy Jamie Hollywood Barrett is on with me. We're going to talk some New York Rangers playoffs. We're going to preview the 2023 series against the Devils, a series between the two teams that have a whole lot of history. The Rangers had another successful season this year. They finished 47, 22, and 13. It totaled 107 points. I think that was the seventh most in franchise history. That said, the Rangers finished third in the division. They clinched the third seed in a divisional round, and they face off against, our Hudson River rival, the New Jersey Devils. Mm-hmm. The opponent, the New Jersey Devils here, they finished second in the division. They had 112 points. I think that was probably their second best finish in franchise history, if not the best in franchise history. Mm-hmm. This would be the seventh time I think the Rangers and Devils face off in the playoffs. There's a lot of history here between the two clubs. The last was 2012 when the Devils won 4-2. That was one. That was a series that was won on an overtime goal by then rookie Adam Henrique, who scored in that game 6. I think it was a double overtime or a single overtime that sent the Devils to the conference final.
Yep.
As for me, I still have fond memories of a 1994 run for the New York Rangers, a series in the Eastern Conference Final against the Devils that saw the Rangers win it 4-2. I'm sorry, 4-3. That was a series where the Devils won Game 5, and the Rangers, were down 3-2 in that series. And Mark Messier, if you remember, came out and made that guarantee that they were going to win Game 6 and force a Game 7.
Yep.
And Mark Messier has the game of his career, scoring the hat trick in that third period to force overtime, to force the win and force Game 7.
Yep.
Where obviously probably one of the most epic calls ever on an NHL game, the Stefan Matteau goal that in double overtime that sent the Rangers to the finals against the Vancouver Canucks, where they obviously eventually win in 7 games. That was a series against Vancouver that I thought was drawn out because of the fact that I think the Devils had taken everything out of the Rangers in that 7-game series. Which and believe it or not, Vancouver was a 7th seed in those playoffs, and nobody expected them to be in the finals against the Rangers. But they gave the Rangers a run for their money. But the Rangers ultimately came out and won that Stanley Cup final. So that's that's where I have my memories of them. And then obviously here, last year in 2022, the Rangers make a run. They get eliminated in the Eastern Conference Final against the Tampa Bay Lightning. This was a playoff run that started with the Penguins, where the Rangers fell quickly 3-1, and then come back and win in 4 games. Talk about the injuries to the Penguins. I really don't want to hear it. It doesn't matter. The Rangers played their asses off. Some of the acquisitions they made at the trade deadline were ultimately the biggest reasons why the Rangers won that series. And then Carolina, they go down 2-0 in that series. And then they saw that series get tied up in Carolina, 2-2. Carolina comes back to New York. They take the 3-2 lead. Rangers go back to Carolina, tie it 3-3, and then they win it at home, which was unbelievable because of the fact that Carolina had been undefeated in the playoffs on the road last year. And now here we are, 2023, a year where after that run in 2022, you expected the Rangers to really dominate. In a way, they were really, really good. Yeah, they finished third. They had 47 wins on the season, 107 points. That's really, really good. But I expected the Rangers to finish in the top of the division this year, being that, after that run last year. Your thoughts on the 2022-2023 season thus far?
Yeah, I'm so excited to be back in the saddle here for more Rangers playoffs hockey. I mean, it's just the best. It's a long grind of a season. So, that little history that we have with the Rangers Devils, there's a lot of that to definitely think about. I think this year it was a very big success, and you know Gerard Gallant. I think one of the storylines was he brought Vegas to the Stanley Cup Final in his first year. He's had immediate success everywhere he's gone, and then for some reason, the devil's advocate in a lot of Rangers fans' minds is, well, what's happening now? Because the Rangers started out 11-10. They were flat and they did not play good hockey. Shesterkin was very shaky. But the Rangers, look, I mean, the New York media is very hard. We would always text each other and we would just wait for another Larry Brooks article coming out, negative on the Rangers as usual. And you know how Tortorella loved Brooksy. So, I think to weather that storm, I think the pivotal moment, if you remember, this was a game I remember a lot. It was against the Chicago Blackhawks, a team that is one of the worst teams in the league. And Jacob Trouba, with a couple of massive hits in the game, throws his helmet against the boards, and the team just kind of looks at him like, yeah, we need to get this shit together. And since that moment, we were 11-10 and 1 or something along those lines. We have had one of the best records in all of hockey since then, probably right up there with Boston. So the Rangers were able to find a way to dig deep. And this is so typical of teams you see in a lot of sports. You go on these big runs, you're going off of the energy, you're feeding off of last year's momentum, and then it's hard to recapture that urgency and that desperation and that killer be killed mentality. And I think some of the Rangers got off to a slow start, especially the kids. I think they started off really slow. But after that moment, the Rangers, they went on a little streak. They've had 3 or 4 streaks of 6 or 7 wins each. So the Rangers win games in bunches. And Halak had a very bad start. He started out 1-7. Since then, he leveled out and he's played better. So every single part of the Rangers game has improved. Now, we saw the deadline acquisitions last year, Andrew Kopp and Frank Vetrano. Frank Vetrano coming in with an elite high level shot, a smaller player, but, can play a lot of different parts of the lineup. And then Andrew Kopp, who was a good face-off man, and he could play on the penalty kill and was good in the corners and retrieving pucks. We have much better acquisitions now than we did last year. There is no comparing Vladimir Tarasenko and Patrick Kane with Andrew Kopp and Frank Vetrano. So the question was going to be, are these new additions going to make the same impact? And if you look at the record, it has. The record does indicate that these changes have been great. And you got to love Tarasenko and Kane having that championship pedigree. They've won Stanley Cups. They've scored big goals, game-winning goals in playoff games. They know what it's like to get in and get dirty. Kane, more of an outside and distributor player. But Tarasenko, he's very strong and can get to the net and drive hard to the net, draw penalties, and he's really hard to get around. So I think from an overall standpoint, I think Shesterkin started out the year a little bit slow. He did get the All-Star nod. And I think after the All-Star break, Shesterkin was one of the better goalies in hockey. I think one of the reasons why he was playing better is because we gelled better. We played better defensively. Philip Hedl, I think we've talked about him for years. Philip Hedl finally has that contract security. I'm going to be a New York Ranger. He signs that 4-year deal. I think that's a really big deal. When a player has that security, he wants to be a New York Ranger. He's not unsure of his future. And to commit to that and to have that commitment by the Rangers, I think that freed him up to just be himself. And I think the other kids followed his lead. And that kid line, again, listen, we can't call him the kid line forever, right? I mean, these are 3 lottery picks here the past several years. But they control the puck. They support the puck. They play big minutes now. There's so much to love about this team. We did lose a little bit of the physicality. We lost Reeves. We lost some of the more physical, gritty guys. But bringing in Tyler Mott, you have Goodrow at the 4th line. There's a lot more depth. The Rangers are as good and as talented as a team this year as we've ever seen since I've watched the Rangers. Now, we hope that translates to playoff success. I think that we will have success. But, it's the playoffs. Anything can happen. You run into a hot goalie, you get cold a few games, it could be over quickly. So I think the Rangers know that. And this Devils team, Giancarlo, this Devils team is very, very good. I mean, they remind me a lot of us maybe a year or two ago. They are up and coming, rising stars, offense, defense. They have guys in the pipeline that are just about to start this year and next year. So they're going to be very good and elite for a long time, starting with Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, that Timo Meier pickup. We'll talk about the X's and O's of the series probably. But a very good season for the Rangers. I'm happy for Gallant. A great season for Drury again. We didn't give up the farm. We didn't give up everybody to get Patrick Kane and Tarasenko. We maybe lost one first-round pick. Kravtsov wasn't doing anything anyway. We let him go. We brought back Tyler Mott. Didn't give up much for him. So all around, a very successful season for the Rangers. And now we have to kind of throw that season in the basket, and we got to get ready for this one coming up.
Yeah, all good points, man. And basically, you just pointed it out. This series, after the season the Rangers had last year, where a lot of people perhaps thought they arrived a bit too quickly. The expectations this year was that they were going to be better. In a way, they were. In a way, on paper, they look better because they have those skilled players in Kane and Tarasenko, who I think are going to be a great addition to this team. But again, I think, like a lot of people are talking about on Twitter, they're kind of missing those gritty players, like the Vetranos, the Cops. They got Mott back this year in a trade, but that's going to be the question. How gritty are these Rangers going to be against this skilled New Jersey Devils team who, they themselves are, up and coming, and a lot of people feel that, their time is a bit too early. And they think that a lot of people are predicting the Rangers might get past the Devils in this series because of the fact that the Rangers have more experience than the Devils. But you know what? Don't count out the New Jersey Devils here, because quite honestly, they do have a lot of skill, and quite honestly, they have a lot of players that really don't give a shit about the skill set that the Rangers have right now heading into this first round series. Speaking of experience, that's what it's going to come down to.
Oh, yeah.
The experience that the New York Rangers have. Yeah, they're missing the Vetranos and the Cops from last year. And they helped the Rangers in quite a lot of ways and helped the Rangers get to the Eastern Conference Final against Tampa Bay, where they finally ran out of gas and Tampa Bay beat them 4-2. But this year, I think the additions of Kane and Tarasenko, two guys who have won multiple Stanley Cups in their careers, Tarasenko winning a couple of years ago with St. Louis, and Kane winning what?
Three
How
times.
many did he win? For 3 times with the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean they've come here and did okay. I was expecting a little bit more, but come playoff time, I think their experience, their veteran leadership is going to help these Rangers possibly get past the New Jersey Devils in this series. How good do you think this Rangers offense is going to match up against this New Jersey Devils defense? Because quite honestly, the Devils are pretty loaded as far as offense is concerned. They've got quite a few players with 30 more goals. I think they got like 5 players with 20 or more goals.
Yeah.
And I think they scored 3.3 goals a game, which is probably, I think, one of the best teams in the league as far as goals per game was concerned. How do you think that the Rangers offense is going to match up against their defense?
So I think the Rangers offense is going to match up really well. There's other teams that we'll get to later on in the conversation that I think the Rangers could run into trouble. But I think if we talk about a matchup, right, the Rangers played the Devils throughout the course of the season, and the Devils are a tough team to play when they're a one-off. You play the Sabres, you play the Caps, you play, the Toronto, and then you play the Devils. The Devils are a different type of speed team. Their transition game is off the charts, and they start that with their defense. On the Rangers offense, I think the Rangers are going to do very well. Other than Dougie Hamilton and, Damon Severson, they have solid defensemen on the Devils. They're obviously, a winning team for a reason. but they do give up a lot of odd man rushes. They take a lot of penalties. They don't have the gritty guys that we just talked about, right? How we maybe are missing some of those gritty guys. Well, they have a few guys with experience. Andre Palat on offense, defensively, Hamilton really, but in terms of a defensive game, defensive structure, you know, the New York Rangers offense matches up very well. The Rangers have very good skaters, Zibanejad, Kreider, Kako, Hedel. You know, in the second line too, you got Kane, and Trocheck is going to win a lot of draws. I think the Rangers are going to do very well. They're going to get a lot of pressure. What I don't want to happen is the Rangers to get into a track meet with the Devils where it's like 5-4, 6-5. They can score 3 goals very quickly. But the Rangers have a very good advantage, I think, offensively against the Devils defense. So I think the Rangers are going to generate a lot of pressure. They're going to get shots on net. They're going to get a lot of power plays. I think the Rangers are going to score. I don't see a scenario where the Rangers are not going to get their goals. So I think that this could be a higher scoring series than maybe other series. But yeah, I do like the matchup of the Rangers in for offensively, defensively against them. I do like how the Rangers can match up.
Yeah, so going back, the Devils scored 3.52 goals per game, but the Rangers' defense, which has been phenomenal this year, they allowed the 4th fewest goals in the league. I got the wrong freaking camera on here. Just 1 second. I want to put my pretty face on
Yeah.
the thing here.
Rangers
So
defense picked it up.
yeah, so Rangers defense is 4th in the league, and I'm sorry, 4th fewest goals per game in the league at 2.63, which, but ultimately, it doesn't really matter how many goals per game the Rangers defense gives up. It's going to be their offense that's going to dictate how good or how bad the Rangers defense is going to be, because quite honestly, the Rangers were probably one of the worst teams in giveaways in the NHL in 2022-2023. I think they give up something like 500 something giveaways. Panarin led the team with over 100.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
And listen, I love Panarin as a player. He's a very skilled guy. He can put the puck in the net when he wants to, and he can do a lot of good things, but he frustrated the shit out of me this year with a lot of the non-look passes across the front of, across the, the middle of the ice, where in a lot of times ended up with odd man rushes going the other way, regardless of who the team was. So, and the Devils are known, as you pointed out, one of the best teams, one of the best transition teams in the NHL.
they are.
You give up the puck, they're going to take it back either for a breakaway or they're going to have an odd man rush.
True.
So you decide what you're going to do with the puck. If the Rangers aren't disciplined in their offensive zone when they pass the puck, and if they give it away, the Devils are more than likely going to come back with an odd man rush or a breakaway for a quick goal, and it's going to be Shesterkin's job to make a stop,
Right.
because otherwise the Devils just going to keep putting the puck in the net.
It's a great point. Devils are one of the best transition teams. Jack Hughes, Heischer, Jesper Bratt. You love Andre Palat, who's starting to get healthy. He's got Stanley Cup experience. Timo Meyer's an absolute beast. Listen, the Devils got over 105 points in the regular season for the first time in a long time in their history for a reason. They're elite. Now, when you go into a 7-game series, everything is in a box, and you're playing against one team, and that's the only team you're facing. We talked about the Rangers offense. This Devils offense is elite. They're young, fast, skilled, dynamic. They make plays. They're confident. Rangers can't turn it over. And you're right. Listen, these high skill players, Kane, Panarin, Panarin, he got intercepted a lot, but how many of those passes went through for one-time goals too? I mean, it's a risk reward gamble, and Gallant has to make sure, and he has to keep these guys in check. That's why I really like Trocheck on that line, because you put Trocheck with Panarin and Tarasenko. Tarasenko is a shoot first player. He can pass, and Trocheck is going to do the dirty work. And I do love Panarin on that line with them. I think Panarin and Kane, there's way too much passing. So I think Gallant has found some good line combinations here. Putting Kreider up there with Kane. Kreider, north-south player, shoots the puck and grind it out. Zibanejad can kind of do it all, can zone entry, and then Kane is a distributor. So I think Gallant has found some good line. Now, the Rangers have the talent to match up with anybody in the league. So as long as the lines are gelling and clicking, I think that's going to be fine. I do like Panarin and Kane off the same line. That should diminish some of the turnovers that you're seeing. I think the first few weeks we got frustrated seeing that power play, how many times they would force it. So I think it all takes time. The Devils, they can turn it over too. They can get fancy. The Devils they're not a north-south team. They like to be finesse as well. They have smaller forwards that are very talented, but they're not gonna bulldoze you over the boards, and neither with the Rangers. So high-skilled, fast-paced series. We do not want to get into a track meet because the Devils can easily score 4 goals in 10 minutes and the game could be over. So we just have to make sure that we kind of keep things simple, generate some power plays, and play a great defensive game, because our defense is one of the tops in the league. Because after our horrific start, when we were one of the worst defensive teams, we've probably been the best since that start, 11-10. So Miller, Trouba, those are big bodies that can skate, take the body. You're going to see a lot of big hits from Trouba. You're going to see Miller in the mix. Braden Schneider is another big physical, talented defenseman. You still got Fox and Lindgren there. And, Mikkola is a guy that, he's had his struggles early, but he's filled in very nicely. And, so we have a lot of size on defense. And the strategy here, Giancarlo, is going to wear these little forwards down. Jack Hughes goes into the corner. He weighs probably as much as I do, 170 pounds, all world skill, but you knock him into the boards. This is playoffs. The referees, we know this. The whistles are going to be put in their pocket unless it's an egregious call. So these ticky-tack penalties, they're going to call the hooks, but the hits into the boards, the physical play, they're going to let it go. And I think the Rangers have the edge there over, the series. Now, another thing, too, wanted to get your thoughts on this. A little bit outside the box here, we're talking about matchups. Rangers are going to have a lot of fans in New Jersey. I mean, this is not a situation where we're heading to Montreal or we're heading to Boston, where it's going to be a much different environment. There will be Ranger fans in the stands. You better believe that, especially coming right from Manhattan with these ticket prices. So the Rangers are going to have at least 25, 30% or more of the fans, at the Rock. So that's another thing to think about as we start the series on the road. I think the Devils are a more dangerous team on the road. I think they have the best road record in hockey. Devils like to play loose and, kind of not care. I think the road benefits that style. There's going to be more pressure on New Jersey at home coming against the Rangers. So I think that's one thing to look at. I guess the one other thing we got to discuss is goaltending. And I think the Rangers got the edge. I mean, that's pretty much a given. But Shesterkin, he's had his moments against the Devils too. So I want to get your thoughts on Shesterkin's season and what you expect from him in the playoffs.
Well, definitely a home ice advantage is gonna. You would think it was gonna be in favor of the New Jersey Devils, and I agree with you. There are gonna be a lot of Ranger fans in that arena in New Jersey, chanting the New York Rangers on. It's gonna be an incredible atmosphere, both at MSG and at Prudential. What was it? Prudential.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. There's no doubt about it. There's going to be definitely a lot of Ranger fans in the arena in New Jersey. So they're definitely, the Rangers are going to have some kind of fan base there cheering them on throughout the series. As far as Igor Shesterkin is concerned, he didn't have the season he had last year. There's no doubt about that. He wasn't as good. He's coming off of a Vezina season. He didn't quite perform as well as he did. For whatever reasons, I have no idea. The defense, like you said, at the beginning of the season was very iffy. So and Shesterkin was allowing a lot of bad goals. But he got better and better as the season progressed, and he's hot right now.
Yeah.
And that's exactly when you want Igor Shesterkin to be hot, is heading into into the playoffs, specifically in a series against the Devils, who, again, as we mentioned, have a good transition game, have a lot of skilled players who can score a lot of goals. And Igor needs to be on top of his game. There's no doubt about that. The one thing I wanted to bring up was the faceoffs. This has been a problem for the New York Rangers for seasons on end,
Yeah, a
and
long
it's the
time.
reason why they brought in Trocheck. He won, I think, 50, I don't know, 53, 54, 53.9% of his faceoffs this year. Was probably the best on the team without a
Yep.
doubt.
Yep.
But the fact of the matter is Trocheck cannot be on the ice for every single faceoff.
Right.
So the Rangers have to do, and I'm not saying that the Devils are any better than the Devils. The Rangers, I'm sorry, the Devils aren't any better than the Rangers in the faceoff circle. Hischier is probably their best faceoff guy. So we're probably going to be seeing Hischier against Trocheck in the faceoff circle for many times in this series.
Yep.
But the fact of the matter is the other guys have to do a better job,
Sure.
specifically in the offensive zone and even more so in the defensive zone, because you want to get that puck out of the zone. You don't want the Devils to be, passing the puck around and getting their chances on Igor Shesterkin. The less chances you get on Igor, the better the chance the Rangers have of winning this game.
I totally agree. Totally agree. And Zibanejad he's had good games on the draw. Trocheck, there was a game a few weeks ago. I think he was like at 80%. So he can get hot on the draw too. Very good technique. Heedle's been better too. And you like Goodrow on the fourth line. So I think center, the Rangers are going to be okay in terms of depth. Jack Hughes is a skilled player. He's a smaller guy. So I think we have some advantages there. Hischier is one of the better centermen. So I think positionally, look, I mean, the Rangers are going to have to match up. I think we have to keep the game zone to zone, right? Let's play half court. We don't want to get to a situation like you said. A pass goes off someone's shin pad and then it's a 2-on-1. That we just can't have that happen, because that's not winning formula for the Rangers. The winning formula is kind of wearing teams out, in the defensive zone, knocking their guys around. I think we have the edge in physicality. We know that'll be ratcheted up. I think we got the edge in goal. I think as long as the Rangers are getting on the power play, and also the kid line is going to be very, very big, because once you get past the top 6 of the Devils, they're good, but they're not as good as what the Rangers have, I think. I think that kid line is going to be very, very important. And they were a big part of our success last year, because they would just wear teams out, especially fast teams like Carolina. So can't say enough about the kids, man. And Capo Caco, he is – I don't know if we'll do a segment of who you think's going to have a breakout postseason. I think it's going to be Caco. What he can do on the ice, he's ripping shots off the crossbar. He's scoring goals. He's making great passes. He's not timid. He's controls the puck as good as anybody. I mean, he's going to be a force. I think he's going to be a breakout player in these playoffs. I love what I'm seeing from him.
We can sure hope so, because last year it was Heedle that did it.
Yep.
He went into the postseason and he tore it up. The kid was phenomenal. I was shocked at the fact that Heedle had so much success in the playoffs last year, and hopefully that he will take that experience into the postseason this year and excel even more than he did last year. Because quite honestly, as you pointed out already, the Rangers are deeper. They've got 4 really good lines.
Yep.
Now, how much Gallant will use each line, especially the fourth line, and I think he will use them a lot, because obviously they're experienced and they're good, skilled guys. They're not gritty, but they'll go into the corners and dig up that puck, and they'll dump and chase, and they'll lay a hit every once in a while.
Sure.
They're good, and we've seen that line on many occasions have a good shift.
Yep.
To the point where the Rangers really needed it, and it got the Rangers going. Third line, same thing. The kid line. You can't say enough about these guys. They finally have grown into themselves. They're finally starting to become veteran players, even though they're still very young at age. But Heedle has been really good. We've started to see, Lafreniere finally, come into his own.
Yep.
That highlight goal that he had, I forget who the hell it was against.
The Capitals, maybe?
I think it was the Capitals, maybe. That was a phenomenal goal. That was awesome.
Yep.
That's the kind of player that I had envisioned Laffy to be when he
Yep.
came into the league. He was going to be this guy who was going to do these trick shots, score goals, but he hasn't done that yet. That's the
Right.
thing. He hasn't done it yet, but he's still young. They're still giving him time to develop. This is a kid who came out of the juniors and right into the NHL.
Yep.
So you got to give him time to develop. Kako, second overall pick. You
You
know who
don't think
number
he's going
one?
to be
You
pumped going up against Jack Hughes? Oh yeah.
exactly number one pick, Jack Hughes, who's been phenomenal for the New
Yeah.
Jersey Devils. So yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a good chance that we might see Capo Caco break out in these playoffs. Use his skill, use his scoring, use his speed, and get something done. No doubt about it.
And I think this series too is a great litmus for the Rangers because going into the playoffs this year, and we've talked about this, I was scared of two teams in the East, the Devils and Boston. Those are the two teams that really scare me in terms of how they play, how we might have some problems. So what you don't want to do is look ahead, but you go on the road, you beat a very young, dynamic, talented Devils team that's going to be going against you for years. You take care of them in a series. Your next series is against an opponent that you have a much bigger advantage over skill-wise, you believe. And I personally believe, and a lot of people agree, I think the Islanders are going to beat Carolina. I really do. I think Carolina is due for an early exit. They have a lot of guys out. They don't have a superstar, and the Islanders are on a trajectory like this. Hot goalie. The Canes are a regular season machine, and they just haven't seemed to found that game-breaking game changer to elevate in the second round. And they lost two of their top six forwards. So they're a system team. I think the Islanders have a great chance to upset them. So, and the Islanders at home, they're going to be absolutely going ballistic too. So I think the Islanders could easily beat them. So you think that second round matchup is more favorable to the Rangers, but that's why I like the matchup now is because let's get this really hard test under our belt. I'm confident that the Rangers can win this series, but the Devils do scare me. This is not a team. Listen, a really talented team is going home this series. And you can argue that the Rangers and the Devils are the best two teams in their division. And one of those teams is out. So, yes, we got Kane, we got Tarasenko, we got Shesterkin, Fox, Panarin, Zibanejad. We got talented skill guys, and even Kreider and Hedl. We got a lot of guys. Miller, Trouba, but you're going up against a team that they got a lot of young stars too. And it is not a given that this series is going to be, a New York Ranger. I've heard people say the Rangers could fight in five. I don't think so at all. I do like that we're going on the road to start. I think that if we were going home to start, there's that extra pressure. You get a little tight, and the Devils play loose. They play fast. I think a game one upset on our home ice would have been likely. So I do like that we're starting on the road because what we got to do, Giancarlo, the old cliche, just split it. Split the baby on the road. You come back to the Garden, you got the edge because then you have basically home ice the rest of the series. And I think the series is going to go at least 6 games. I do not see a scenario where the Devils won't pick off a game. The Devils score too many goals. They can score 4 goals in a period and kind of ruin your night. I can easily see a scenario where the Devils beat us 5-2 in a game and we still win the series. That would not surprise me. The Devils can catch you sleeping. If you take too many penalties, you start running around and you don't settle down, it could be early pretty quickly. So I kind of wanted to get your pulse of the series too. I do like the Rangers to pull away at some point. I do think the Rangers have more depth. And on the defensive end, I think the Rangers are going to wear these guys down a little bit. I just like the Rangers playoff structure a little bit better. But what are your thoughts, I guess, on the feel of the series, on what you think could happen?
I am scared shitless of the New Jersey Devils. I've said it.
Yeah.
I really didn't want. I was really, really hoping that the Devils and Carolina would flip flop first
Yeah.
and second place, and the Rangers would get Carolina. Only because I feel like we know Carolina a lot better than the New Jersey Devils. We were 1-2-1 against the Devils this year, 1-3 if you want to look at it that way. Listen, to the Devils are a very good come from behind team.
Yep.
So if the Rangers get on top of the Devils 2-0, 3-0, the game ain't fucking over.
Nope.
The game is not going to be over. So that scares me. That is the one element of this series that scares me about the Devils is the fact that they're never out of a game until it's over.
Yeah. No,
And
I totally agree.
it's gonna come down to the transition game, giveaways, takeaways, but most importantly, how the Rangers fare on the power play. Special teams is going to be key in this series.
Yep.
The Rangers have one of the best power plays. No, I wouldn't say the best power play, but they're up there at 24.1%. I think they
Yeah.
were in the top 10. The Devils are a very good penalty kill team. I think they were 82.6%. That's very good. I think they were in the top 10,
Yeah.
top 5 maybe. Whatever the case is. We saw the last game. The Rangers had their issues with on the power play. They passed the puck a whole lot and didn't shoot a whole lot.
Yeah.
That's what the Devils try to make you do on the power play is force you to the outside, keep the lanes closed, can't get a shot in, can't get a pass through, and ultimately, there's a turnover and there goes Heishier going the other fucking way on a breakaway and scores on a penalty kill. He's got 7 PK. He's got 7 shorthanded goals in the season.
He's definitely up there. Kreider too. He was very good shorthanded as well. So I agree with you there. Gallant's going to have to do a good job of identifying, playing time. It is going to be a long series, so you don't want to burn guys out in game one and, playing them, like I think the Rangers earlier in the season, that first penalty unit was just getting that penalty power play unit was getting stale. And they are as talented as can be, but you bring in new guys, you got to get them in the mix. And I think that actually benefited the Rangers and they were fresher down the stretch because you weren't playing Panarin and Zibanejad as many minutes. So the Rangers, I think, are in a good position here. They're not an old team by any stretch. They have veterans, but they're still a young team to the core. And I think that's going to help them a lot against the Devils because the Devils are very young. The Devils have a couple of veteran guys, but they're really, really young. So I think the Rangers, they're not like a Pittsburgh where this is like kind of it. The Rangers are still very much in their prime. So the Rangers are going to have the energy. They're not going to have a problem competing. The physicality, what Trouba and Miller and Schneider can do on defense, in addition to what Fox can do offensively, and how great Lindgren is at moving the puck and how good he is as a defenseman, underrated. Took a slap shot to the face the other night, comes back in. And this guy every game has a cut to the face, shin pad to the face, puck to the face, skate to the face. Doesn't matter. He's back out there. I mean, the Rangers have the makings of going on a deep run, but this is going to be our toughest opponent probably until we see. Hopefully, we get to Boston or we get further. We don't want to put the cart before the horse, but this is a very, very tough opponent. And they do scare me. But I do have a calm confidence about the series. The Devils could work us for a few periods. They're going to beat us. I mean, they're going to win a game or two. They could win 3. I mean, it's going to be a tight series. But I think where we have an edge is experience, goaltending, which in the playoffs is so important. Goaltending, I would say the physical game, especially with Miller and Trouba, as long as those guys are 100% healthy, that's a big advantage. And the Devils just do not have those kind of guys. Schneiders, they don't have the brute force back there. So I think that's a big advantage, as I was saying earlier. And then I think, listen, Patrick Kane, I mean, this is why we brought him to New York. I don't expect him to score a hat trick and score every single game, but I think he's going to elevate his play. I think he's going to have a very compelling message to the team. I think Gallant has good standing in the room. I think going through that early adversity for the Rangers was so important. You don't want to peak like in the middle of the season. Shesterkin is peaking now. You want to be on the way right now. So I think the Devils have kind of been peaking all year. They had one rut and, they might be due for a setback. This is a lot for them too.
We've been saying about about the
I know.
Devils all
They
season.
started out scorching hot, then they had a setback, then the rest of the year they carried.
Everybody was waiting for these guys to
Right.
finally come down to earth, and they never did.
They never did.
You know, and that's what scares me about these guys is the
Yeah,
fact that we're still waiting, we're still waiting. Why are they
exactly.
still good? I don't
Have they done
understand.
it in the biggest moments? I think it's you're getting these, the big time performers I think are going to be great, but I think the Rangers have the defensemen and the size to match up. The Rangers, I think, can do more of the physical, the grinding play, I think more than the Devils can. And we got a lot of our fans in their building. So I mean it's gonna I think it's a little bit scary because you're going up against a playoff unknown for the most part. But I also think the Rangers are going to be up for the test. I think it's going to make the Rangers a better team to go through this series. And listen, I think we would both agree that even though this series, there's two very talented teams playing, if we do not come through in this series, that is going to be a disappointing season. I mean, I think we could both agree. And now, I think me and you are realistic Ranger fans. We didn't get on the Rangers for almost giving it up last year. We didn't expect them to win the cup. We didn't expect them to beat Tampa. We kind of knew. We know. It seems like me and you know the expectations of the Rangers. But I would say, if the Rangers do not win this series, that this season would unfortunately be disappointment, and you just don't want to see that happen.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, again, this is two of the best teams in the conference. I mean, Boston is the class act. I mean, there's nobody better than Boston. Boston scares the shit out of me. I don't even want to see Boston. I hope somebody beats them along the way before the Rangers, if the Rangers ever get there. I hope Boston is totally out because they are really, really good. But as far as the Devils and Rangers are concerned, I could see them as being 2 and 3 in the conference after Boston. One of these teams is going to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be disappointing if the Rangers were to lose in the series, but is it going to be disappointing because we? It's not going to be disappointing because we lost to an inferior team because the Devils aren't an inferior team.
I would agree with that. I think
They would have lost to it. They would if they lose to a skilled team. So
I think it's the
disappointing.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, disappointing. Yeah, but when you look at it in perspective, you're like, well, they were a good team. It's not like they weren't a good team. If they were an inferior team and you lose to an inferior team, then I would say that's a setback for the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
But again, after the season that they had in 2020 and last year, going to the Eastern Conference Final and losing the six games to the Tampa Bay Lightning, the expectation this year was that they were going to go to the finals because they've gained that experience. They got better. They made some acquisitions at the deadline that made them better, and you would think that they can get easily passed by the Devils, but the Devils aren't going to just let the Rangers run them over. It's just not going to happen.
Not.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
In the end, it's going to come down to special teams, face-offs, the takeaways and giveaways, and obviously Igor Shesterkin and Vanacek for the Devils. That's what it's going to come down to. Yeah. Who makes the most saves and whose defense plays better.
And there's some X factors on the ice. I think the Rangers, Chris Kreider, he has always elevated his game in the playoffs. The way that he can get in front of the net, use his size, his speed. Ever since he broke into the league with the Rangers, I think back in 2012, he's been outstanding playoff performer. He's elevated his game. Trouba's elevated his game. Heedle's elevated his game. Zibanejad. I mean, Panarin last year, you could argue, was one of the few players. He had 16 points in 21 games. That's, not Panarin-like. He did send us, out of the first round in Pittsburgh. But I think now with Kane and Tarasenko there, see, the Rangers last year, Kopp and Vetrano were good pieces, but those weren't elite skill level goal scorers and finishers, power play guys. They were complementary pieces. And a lot of the pressure was on Panarin and Zibanejad to deliver over and over. And you needed a guy like Heedle to step up and the kid line. And, now Panarin, he doesn't have all the pressure that he's got to do it himself. I think now he's got a postseason with the Rangers under his belt. I think Panarin's going to be very loose. He's been shooting the puck like crazy lately. He's normally a pass first guy, but for the past like several weeks, he's been firing it, and his goals per game has been going up a lot. So I think Panarin has found something with his shot. I think he's confident, and I expect him to have a very good postseason. But Chris Kreider is certainly that X factor for the Rangers that I think, he had 52 goals last year. This year, I think he had, 36. That's what you expect. I mean, I don't think we expected 52 goals from Chris Kreider. I think we expected what we got, hard-nosed guy. And I think, there's just who do you think? I said Kako earlier. Who do you think on the Rangers could have like a breakout postseason, offensive or defensively, that you're kind of waiting on?
It's a good question. I really thought that when the Rangers made the deal for Tarasenko that he was going to be a key player. He was going to be a guy because he's got an awesome snapshot. I mean, he just is an unbelievable scorer. He's got unbelievable talent. He can put the puck anywhere he wants on the net and put it in the back of the net. I thought he was going to be the guy that was going to score goals when he came here, and he didn't quite do that. Patrick Kane, ultimately, it's same situation. I thought when he came here, he was getting hot just prior to the trade with Chicago. He had scored like 7-8 goals in like, I don't know, 4 or 5 games. So he was on a hot streak, and I thought he was going to come here and he was going to continue that. But if I was going to name one guy that's going to be the key component, key player in this New York Rangers offense, it's going to be Zibanejad. He's a guy who's on a power play, is going to take those slappers, and you're going to expect that puck to go to the back of the net every single time. Well, you hope. He's the guy who's led this team in goals, and he's the guy who's been doing it pretty much all this season. Kreider did it last year. This year it's Zibanejad. I think he's the key guy. But then again, there's a lot of guys on this team that are being unselfish. They're just passing the puck instead of shooting.
Yeah.
If the Rangers shoot the puck more, because the Devils, I think, are probably top 5 in the league in shots on goal with 34 point something per game. The Rangers aren't even anywhere near that. They need to shoot more. They need to get guys to the front of the net after they shoot, get the rebound, put it in the back of the net. It's going to be key for the Rangers to do that. They can't waste so much time passing the puck around looking for that shooting lane. Just put the fucking puck on net. Something will happen.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with that, too. And I think Miller and Trouba have done a good job, too, of getting pucks on net. Schneider. So I think from the defensive side, I think the Rangers will get pucks to the net. The Rangers seem to get more shots throughout the game, later in the game. I like to see the Rangers start out shooting a little bit more. We'll see. I think the way the Rangers play, which is a high skill game, and then they mix in some forechecking as well. I really believe that if they can get shots, test this goalie early, because he hasn't played in an environment like this. I think he maybe had a cup of coffee with the Caps, but I don't think he was really an impactful player on their run. I mean, that was Braden Holtby. So, Vanacek hasn't been there. Shesterkin has been there. And I remember he started off a little bit rough, Shesterkin, in the playoffs last year. So I think it's you take the gift out of the box. It's still new. You get off the wrapping. I think that's what the Rangers did last year for a lot of our younger guys. So I think going on the road, especially, I think is an advantage to us. I would start the kid line, and then I would just get like a relentless forechecking pressure game, really make them uncomfortable. And then I want to see Jacob Trouba line up a couple guys, some of their bigger guys. You want to see some scraps. You want to see some good scrums in front. But I agree with you. Zibanejad he's the heart and soul of this team. I know that Jacob Trouba is the captain, and we discussed this when that happened. Mika Zibanejad is the heart and soul of the New York Rangers. I mean, and he's been that way for the past like 3-4 years. Ever since he's been here, he's been everything that you would want as a Ranger. I want this Stanley Cup run for him so bad. For him, for Kreider, obviously the fans, for everybody else. But he's the guy that, he's going to have the most impact. I mean, offensively, defensively, he's the guy. He's the man. There's no question about it.
No doubt this is going to be a hard fought series. I don't know if I want to make a prediction, but I think we should make a prediction.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is the Rangers have to go in this series, and they have to keep their composure.
Yeah.
We mentioned it throughout the pod today. No giveaways. Don't let the Devils transition game beat you. You can't get into odd man rushes down in your own end, and you can't give up the breakaways. If the Rangers can be disciplined enough to stop the Devils transition game, the Rangers are going to have a good series against the Devils. Is it going to go 7 games? I truly believe this is going to go down to 7 games. How can we not have a 7 game series between the Rangers and Devils? It's just. I mean, every series they've had except the one in 2012 is a 7 game set.
Yep.
So my prediction this series is going to go 7 games. It's going to come down to goaltending. It's going to come down to special teams, and it's going to come down to the Rangers being disciplined on the transition, and on giving up giveaways and not allowing the Devils transition game to beat them. So I think the experience the Rangers have versus the youth of the Devils is going to be the difference, as a lot of people are saying right now in this series. I say Rangers take this in 7 games.
So it's a very good call there. I am going to be a different angle here. I think the Rangers win game 1. I think the Devils might take the second. I think the Rangers are going to do very well at home. I think the Rangers at home going into the weekend, that's a tough task. It's tough to ask from these Devils players to go into the Garden. It's going to be a lot different. The nerves will be jumping. So I think the Rangers are going to do very well at home this series. So because I think the Rangers will split in New Jersey, and I think there's going to be some tight sticks for the Devils in game 1. I think the Rangers are going to be a little bit more loose. I like the Rangers starting on the road better than I like them at home. I would agree. I think if the Rangers started at home, they could be tight in game 1. And I think that the Devils, how well they play on the road, they could maybe take a game. They like playing that spoiler underdog role because that's how they're going to see themselves in this series, even though they have a higher record. But I think the Rangers are going to win this in 6. I think the Rangers are going to take game 1. They could take game 2. I think the Rangers on the road, I do like where they would stand. I think the Devils at home, it's going to be a little bit different to try to reel in their emotions. I think the Rangers are going to get under their skin a little bit. And I would expect the Devils, being as skilled as they are, to bounce back. The Rangers, I think they're going to take 2 games at home. And then coming back to, the Rock, I think the Devils will probably win. I think the Rangers, on home ice will take it in game 6. Going to a game 7, I think the Rangers could easily win on the road in game 7. They've done that in the past. But the way that the series matches up, I'm fairly confident that the Rangers, listen, the Devils could easily, the Devils are an extremely talented team, and they could win the series, and they do scare me. But I'm comfortable. I'm quietly confident. I'm not beating my chest. We're going to beat you guys, and you guys suck. That's not going to happen for me. But I think with our lineup, I think Rangers should win it at home in game 6. That's going to be my prediction. Who do you think? Breakout star for me is Capo Caco. Who's a breakout star for you? Zibanejad notwithstanding, because he's kind of been a star. Give me a breakout star for the Rangers in the first round.
Alexei Lafreniere.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right, this is his time to shine, his time to show off his skill set, his time to put some fucking pucks in the back of the net, because I'm tired of waiting. I think Lafreniere is going to be an exceptional player in this series. If this goes 7 games, I think Laf scores the OT winner.
Wow, I like that. Another one I like is Braden Schneider. He's just been quietly having a very good start to his Ranger career. If there wasn't so many talented defensemen in front of him, if Lindgren wasn't around, he could play on the first or second pair easily. So I love Braden Schneider, his physicality. He's starting to get a little bit more confidence around the net. So I think he's another guy to look out for as well. So, it's exciting. We tee it up on Tuesday. I may have a men's league hockey game that night. So,
You might have to cancel that, bro.
dude, it's a playoff game for us.
I hear you.
But I'm hoping that on Thursday, I'm definitely it's gonna be a great series. I'm gonna be tuning in, and it's exciting, man. We're back. It's where we belong. We're where we should be. And listen, got a formidable opponent here in the Devils. So I'm excited to just get after it. And maybe we'll stop by Brazen. We'll see you out there. We'll get you from the front. We'll put you inside for a change, If Game 6 goes to OT and it's at home, I think it's going to be Heedle.
So you got Heedle scoring the game winner in Game 6 of an overtime game, huh?
Yeah, I think
All
so.
right, I've got Loff scoring in Game 7 and probably double overtime.
Oh my God! See,
Double
that's
overtime.
the problem.
Come on, man. This is Rangers Devils history. Come on.
I can't. You're not going to be happy. You're
No,
I'm not.
I'm not going to be happy
No,
because I'm going to be
happy.
Oh, my nerves are going to be through
We're both
the
gonna be
freaking
angry.
wall.
Like Panarin turns it over again, dude. I don't want to see those texts. I want the Rangers to. I think the Rangers, as long as we split at New Jersey, we're going to be in the driver's seat the rest of the way. Quiet confidence, respect your opponent, hit these guys into the boards. Come on, knock them around. We got more.
The Rangers just have to finish.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're gonna take a 2-0 lead on the Devils, you need to hang on to that 2-0 lead and not allow them to come back because they can do it.
Yeah.
They're that good, and they're that good offensively, and they have plenty of players who can score. They have multiple players with 30-plus goals. They have multiple players with 20-plus goals. So they've got a lot of offense going around. So you cannot allow the Devils to do what they did to you in the 4 games they played this season where they came back twice to beat you. You got to get ahead. You got to stay ahead. The defense has got to play strong. Shesterkin's got to be standing on his head for most of the time because the shots are going to be coming.
Yep.
Like I already mentioned, the Devils are probably one of the best teams as far as shots on goal are concerned. He has to be on point. He cannot allow any bad goals. We've seen him do it last year and in that series against the Penguins where they fell behind 3-1 and had to come back in 7 games to win that series. Yeah. Cannot have that situation against the Devils. If you fall to the Devils in this series, that's not a good thing for the.
I don't like.
It's not going to be a good.
From behind.
Nope. Exactly. You do not want to play from behind in this series. Definitely not.
Well, say a prayer. Rest up. We got the playoffs coming around the corner, buddy. It was great to chat with you, and then we got the draft coming up soon. We'll probably get some pods in during the series as well as we move along.
Yeah, definitely want to talk some baseball because there's a lot of stuff going on as far as the Mets and Yankees are concerned. I know you're a big Yankee fan. We got to get a pod on the Yankees and Mets as well.
Let's do it.
All right, brother. Thanks for coming on with me. Appreciate it. And I'll talk to you soon, brother.
You bet, brother.
Take it easy.